"Marry me," he said, voice smooth, calm. His deep brown eyes locked onto mine like I was the last glass of Dom Perignon at a dry wedding. So I said yes. Not because of butterflies, please. My future was sealed not with a kiss, but with a 12-carat cushion-cut diamond and a prenup thicker than a Birkin catalog. Let's rewind. I'm Chantal. Yes, that Chantal. The one socialites whisper about at galas when they think I've stepped out to powder my nose. The former runway model who traded catwalks for private jets, and a dream for a last name that sounds like old money and legal immunity. My husband? Marcus Wellington III, tech empire prince, i.e. nerd alert. Charming when he's feeling generous. But his bank account? That thing could crush a country. Did I love him? Let's not embarrass ourselves. I loved the way his signature evaporated my student debt. The way his last name got me tables, tickets, and the kind of power they don't teach in finishing school. Marcus wasn't naive. He knew exactly what I was. That's why the prenup was a novel, one with chapters titled No Public Embarrassment, No Major Spending Without Approval, and the Pièce de Résistance, No Infidelity. Period. I signed it. In Dior ink. What Marcus didn't know? I had clauses of my own. Unwritten, unspoken, but ironclad. They said I wouldn't last a week, please. I've survived group chats with exes and brunches with stepmothers. This is light work. The first time I realized marriage to Marcus Wellington III would require actual effort was exactly 3 weeks and 4 days into our union. We were at his family's annual summer gala, a stuffy, old money affair where the champagne was vintage and the guests were even more aged. I had spent 6 hours getting ready. 6. My honey blonde hair was swept into an elegant chignon, my makeup was contoured to perfection, and my custom La Perla gown hugged every curve like it was sewn onto me. Which technically, it was. Marcus, in his usual uniform of a tailored Brioni suit and polished Oxfords, held my hand as we entered the ballroom. The whispers started immediately. That's her? The gold digger? Can't even pretend she's with him for his personality. I heard she signed the prenup in lipstick. I smiled through it all, my hand resting lightly on Marcus's arm. Let them talk. I was the one leaving with the Wellington name and the black Amex. Then his mother approached. Victoria Wellington was a woman who had perfected the art of the backhanded compliment by the time she was in diapers. Chantal, she purred, her icy blue eyes raking over me. How colorful you look tonight. Marcus stiffened beside me. I sipped my champagne, unfazed. Thank you, Victoria. I wanted to match your son's vibrant personality. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. It wasn't until we were back in the penthouse that Marcus exploded. What the hell was that? He snapped, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. I kicked off my heels, stretching my legs across the couch. A joke. You remember those, right? Little things people make when they're happy? You insulted my mother in front of 200 people. And she insulted me in front of 200 people first. I arched a brow. Or did you miss that part? Marcus ran a hand over his face. This isn't a game, Chantal. You can't just what? I sat up, my patience fraying. Defend myself? Or are you only paying me to smile and look pretty? The words hung between us, ugly and true. For a long moment, Marcus was silent. Then quietly, I expect you to respect my family. I laughed. A real, unfiltered laugh. Oh, now we're pretending this is a real marriage. Because last I checked, you didn't hire me for my respect. His jaw tightened. I didn't hire you. Could have fooled me. We didn't speak for 2 days. I spent them shopping, charging a $90,000 diamond bracelet to his account because fuck him. Marcus spent them locked in his office, ignoring my calls. It wasn't until the third night, when I stumbled into the penthouse at 3 a.m., courtesy of an impromptu girls' trip to Vegas, that I found him waiting in the dark. You're drunk, he observed. I hiccuped. And you're a nerd. A beat. Then, Marcus laughed. Not the polite society chuckle he used at galas, a real deep laugh that made him double over. I stared at him. "What's so funny?" "You," he said, wiping his eyes. "You're exhausting." I grinned, swaying slightly. "And you're stuck with me." For the first time since we'd met, something like understanding passed between us. This wasn't love, but it wasn't just business anymore either. The tabloids dubbed it the Wellington Wipeout, a scandal so delicious it eclipsed the usual celebrity divorces and offshore account leaks for a full news cycle. But those breathless headlines got it all wrong. They painted me as the villain, Lucas as the victim, and Marcus as the cuckolded genius. The truth? Far more interesting. Let me back up. It started with a text. "Unknown number. How much does he pay you to pretend?" The screen glared up at me in the penthouse's muted morning light, a crack in the pristine facade of my carefully curated life. My freshly manicured thumb, onyx noir, a shade as unforgiving as the Wellington family, hovered over the keyboard. The silence was thick, broken only by the espresso machine's gurgle as it dispensed my third shot of the day. Marcus had left for Tokyo at dawn, his absence a relief disguised as loneliness. I typed back, "Depends who's asking." The response was instant. "Meet me, noon, the Carlisle, room 712. A lesser woman might have ignored it. A smarter one would have called security. But I'd spent 2 years playing the dutiful wife in a gilded cage, and boredom is a sharper motivator than fear. The Carlisle smelled like old money and older secrets. Polished mahogany, starched linen, and the faintest whisper of cigar smoke clinging to the drapes. I strode through the lobby like I owned it, which technically Marcus did, a footnote in his hotel portfolio. My stilettos sinking into carpet thicker than most people's savings accounts. Room 712 was cracked open, a sliver of darkness promising answers or ambush. I pushed inside and froze. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." Lucas Wellington, Marcus's estranged younger brother, the family's problem child, though child was a stretch for a man whose exploits filled gossip columns and shareholder complaints in equal measure. He was free-spirited where Marcus was rigid, tousled dark hair instead of Marcus's surgeon-precise jet-black streaks, and a smirk that had probably launched 1,000 bad decisions. "The infamous Chantel," he drawled, pouring 2 glasses of bourbon neat. No ice, just like his brother. "I was starting to think you were a myth." "I didn't sit. Let me guess. You're here to warn me away from your brother's fortune?" My laugh was sharp enough to draw blood. "Bit late for that." Lucas swirled his glass, the amber liquid catching the light. "Sweetheart, I couldn't care less about Marcus's money." He leaned in, his cologne, something expensive and woodsy, with a bite of citrus, washing over me. "I'm here to offer you a real payday." He slid a folder across the table. Inside, blueprints of the Wellington family estate, financial records with key figures highlighted in angry red, and a grainy photo of Marcus in a dimly lit bar, his hand curled around the waist of a woman who wasn't me. "Your husband," Lucas said lightly, like he was commenting on the weather, "has been keeping secrets." The woman's name was Elise, 24, blonde, a junior analyst at Wellington Holdings with a Cornell MBA and a penchant for pink lipstick that left smudges on coffee cups. And, according to Lucas, Marcus's mistress for the past 8 months. "Bullshit," I snapped, tossing the photo back like it burned. Marcus wouldn't risk the prenup. That 58-page document was my least favorite bedtime reading, every clause a landmine. "Unless," Lucas countered, "he found a loophole." He explained it like a chess move. If I violated the prenup first, say by conspiring with his treasonous brother, Marcus could divorce me without penalty. And with me gone, Sweet Elise could slide right into my penthouse, my jewelry vault, my life. I sipped the bourbon to buy time. It burned going down, a familiar ache. "Why tell me?" I asked. Lucas's grin was wolfish. "Because I'd rather split the empire with you than watch him hand it to some doe-eyed intern." I played along. Let Lucas think I was tempted, even as my mind raced through the inconsistencies. Marcus was meticulous, If he'd taken a mistress, there'd be no paper trail, no careless photos. That night, while Marcus slept off his Tokyo jet lag, I did what I do best. I went digging. His phone was password protected. His laptop required biometrics, but his old-fashioned desk calendar. Bingo. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. Club 21. I wore black the next night, the kind of dress that disappears in shadows and costs more than most cars. Club 21 was all low lighting and lower morals. I spotted Marcus immediately. Back corner booth, a tumbler of 30-year Macallan in hand, his tie slightly loosened, and across from him, not Elise. Victoria. My mother-in-law's voice carried just enough over the jazz piano. Finalize the buyout before Lucas finds out. Marcus's reply was ice. He'll never see it coming. I slipped out before they noticed me, the puzzle snapping into place. There was no mistress. There was no betrayal, just a power play. Marcus and Victoria cutting Lucas out of the family empire before he could bleed it dry. And Lucas, desperate enough to use me as a pawn in his losing game. I could have walked away, but where's the fun in that? I leaked the story myself. Anonymous tip to page 6. Wellington heir plots against brother with gold digger wife. The photoshopped evidence? A masterpiece. Emails, bank transfers, even a staged shot of Lucas and me looking cozy at the Carlisle. His fingerprints all over it. By dawn, the headlines were everywhere. By noon, Lucas was disinherited. His name scrubbed from the Wellington Holdings website. And by dinner? Marcus looked at me across the table, something like respect in his eyes as he sliced into his medium-rare filet. "You're ruthless," he said. I toasted him with my rosé, the crystal catching the light. "You're welcome." The unspoken truth hung between us. In this family, betrayal wasn't personal. It was just good business. P.S. I never did figure out what happened to Elise. Probably HR fired her for sleeping with the wrong stock option.